Good day and welcome to my channel. My name is Rhod Mackenzie, and today I want to talk about how major European oil refineries are at risk of shutting down due to Washington imposing sanctions against the Russian oil company Lukoil. Now, a major filling station chain has also closed in Finland, and Bulgaria and Romania are scrambling to take action to defend their interests. Now, risks have also emerged for the global energy market. So what are the potential consequences of Washington's unilateral actions? And what are the available options? Well, at the end of October, the US Treasury Department included Rosneft, Lukoil and 34 of their subsidiaries in the latest sanctions package. Now, all transactions with any of these companies must be completed by the 21st of November. Now, Lukoil International GmbH, the owner of Lukoil's foreign assets, had initially considered selling all its assets to the trader governor. But unfortunately, this offer had to be withdrawn due to pressure from Washington, but more on that stalled deal later. Now, the Russian company Lukoil has been actively developing its international business over the last few decades. In addition to the aforementioned refineries, it owns a network of filling stations in Finland, as well as the Dubai headquartered oil trader Litasco, as well as assets in Africa. It's also got assets, the West Corner project in Iraq, holding a 75% stake. The company also holds a minority stake in a number of other projects. Now, according to Reuters, the company's total foreign assets are worth $22 billion. Now, before I continue, many of you watching this channel are not subscribers. So if you've enjoyed this video, then please hit the subscribe button and also click on the alert bell so you get notified when I post a new video. Plus, if you want to support me, you can make a donation by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom right hand side of the screen, or by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link below in the credits. Now, for Lukoil, it would be logical to sell off all of this. However, the US Treasury blocked a $19 billion deal with the Swiss trader Gunvor, suspecting it might be fictitious and the Swiss company were acting in concert with Russia defending its interests. Now, Lukoil also owns the Burgas refinery, which covers 80% of Bulgaria's fuel needs, the Petrotel Lukoil in Plojetsky, which supplies 35% of Romania's needs. Now, in addition to its domestic operations, the company also supplies to Moldova, which has no other sources of fuel. Now, both refineries are seriously concerned because these actions now risk their closure. Now, the government in Sofia has already taken the step of banning the export of certain types of fuel, mainly diesel and aviation fuel, to other EU countries. Now, let's talk about taking control. In Bulgaria and Romanian context, it's need to consider the most appropriate course of action. Now, one potential solution is to implement temporary state management at the refinery. The Bulgarian parliament passed a law that allows for the appointment of a special administrator at Neftochim Burgas. The president of Bulgaria, Rumen Radev, have attempted to veto the law, citing constitutional risks and potential financial claims against the state. However, the bill was significantly overturned by a significant margin. Now, as a last resort, Romania, the progress has been more gradual. There's been a strong possibility of the buyer of Lukoil's assets. As the government in Bucharest emphasised, nationalisation would be an extreme measure. According to the president, Nikos Erdogan, the government has established a task force to identify the optimal solution for the facility, which encompasses the Petrotel refinery. However, he emphasised there's no serious urgency in this matter, as there's no initiative to request a sanctions deferment from the Americans. That's because in addition to Petrotel, there's Petromedia and Petrobrazi, so the situation in Romania is not as critical as Bulgaria. Now, the objective is to fight for the use of the assets. Now, there are precedents for this temporary state management for a period of between 3 and 6 months, then be followed by a subsequent sale. Germany's actions regarding Rosneft's assets back in 2022 and Italy's actions regarding the ISAB refinery in Italy are relevant here, according to Vadim Petrov, who's a member of the International Sectional Financial Advisory Group. Now, the authorities have confirmed that they will take action to prevent the shutdown of the refineries. They will also seek to identify a new owner from an allied country, and it's been reported that Kazakhstan's Kazmuni Gas, Hungary's MOL, and Azerbaijan's Sokar have already expressed interest in Bulgaria's Burgas. Finally, the authorities will remove the assets from Lukoil's control. This approach will ensure compliance with the sanctions without compromising the operational integrity of the refineries, according to the analyst. Now, the possibility of selling Lukoil's stake is also being considered in the Netherlands. In 2009, the Russian company acquired a 45% stake in the Zeeland refinery located in the southwestern part of the country. As a political source said, this move is most likely. I mean, one solution to that is because it's already happened and been tested in Germany. Back in 2022, the authorities seized Rosneft's assets, including the Schwedt refinery at the end of the Druzhba pipeline. The Germans now manage that themselves, with the Russian company being the nominal owner but gets no income from it. Now, as Bloomberg notes, governments across Europe and the Middle East are engaged in a dispute over Lukoil's islands, and the outcome's not quite clear. I mean, there's market destabilization going on. I mean, the International Energy Agency, the IEA, has expressed its concerns that the sanctions imposed on Russian oil companies could potentially disrupt the global oil market. I mean, the IEA report highlights operational disruptions have already taken place. I mean, Lukoil has declared force majeure at one of the world's largest oil fields, the West Qurba 2 in Iraq, as their country's authorities have suspended all payments to the company. Now, this will have a significant impact on the energy markets in Eastern Europe. Now, the US Treasury's actions, marking the first major energy sanctions of Trump's second term, follow the adoption of the 19th EU sanctions package in late October, which imposed a ban on Russian LNG imports from January 2027. Moreover, the duration of short-term contracts is limited to 6 months. Diesel prices in Germany have already increased by 25%, and in Bavaria, gas station prices are at record levels since the energy crisis. Traders are increasing their diesel inventory from the US and the Middle East, but premiums are rising rapidly. ICE gas oil futures have risen sharply, and supplies will have to be reduced to the EU because the ban on Russian fuel comes into effect in January, according to Evgeny Sumakharov of international business at the Russian Financial University. The analysts have identified the economics of processing as the primary risk factor. The supply of Russian raw materials has always resulted in very attractive profit margins. So there'll be a serious decline in profitability, which will lead to a reduction in production over time and a loss of profitability. However, he notes that for the time being, the European market as a whole does not have sufficient reserves and alternative sources to compensate for any particular and potential disruptions as Trump follows through on his tariff attacks on India, which is a major fuel supplier to the EU, having replaced Russia. So there you have it, Trump disrupting the global oil market yet again. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.